Hi, and welcome to Probeline. I'm your host, Reid Haughey. We'd like to thank the good folks at the Thrift Shop, whose annual grant to GrassRoots makes this and other programs available. Probeline is here to be able to provide the opportunity for you to get to know the folks who want to be your elected officials. And today we're joining Cabe Mitchell, who wants to be the next mayor of Aspen. Welcome, Cabe.
Cale.
Cale.
Yes.
Sorry.
No worries.
So, Cale, tell me a little bit about yourself. How'd you get here?
At the ripe old age of 11, my parents decided to move from eastern rural Ohio and come out to Aspen and see what happens.
So you grew up here?
Yeah, we moved out here in '98 and moved to Basalt. I lived in Basalt for about 8 years. Moved out around 2007, just kind of various other spots in the valley since, and moved to Aspen with my wife 8 years ago.
Great. So, growing up here, where did you run away to when you were rebelling?
Definitely associated a lot with the snowboard bro-bra crowd. Did a lot of ditch days whenever possible to go snowboarding. When I was a junior in high school, I had half days, which typically only the seniors get to see those, and had half days and would go snowboarding 2-3 times a week.
Great.
So that was really my passion when I was younger. My parents were also raft guides on the Neuengamme in central West Virginia in the 90s. So I learned how to kayak when I was 9 years old, and I would go back there for the summers. Went back when I was 14, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Went and spent the summers back there. Gave me a very fresh perspective on the world. And then, come back to Aspen for the school year and start the snowboard season up again.
So did you leave to go to college, or?
I went to Boulder CU University for a little while and just didn't really find the path that I wanted to be on. Kind of realized that I was going to be spending a lot of money to get an education that I didn't really know, what field I wanted to go into. So kind of started out in history and quickly realized, there's not a whole lot of careers that, are in the history field. Basically, I can become a teacher, a professor, or, some other job that might lend out to the history profession. But, just wasn't really excited on it. So moved back to Aspen and just kind of entered the workforce and, been here ever since.
What'd you start working at?
I've worked pretty much every job in the valley. One of the first jobs I had, I was working at the Aspen Hospital, being basically a glorified stalker for the medical inventory. And I've worked in restaurants, I've worked in retail, I've worked at Fort Mountain Sports. Currently, I'm a staff accountant at the Little Nell. I do 1 day a week at City Market overnight stocking, which I just had to cut back a few days. It was a little too much to be getting 60-plus hours a week and staying awake 3 nights a week. So cut back to just Saturday night doing that. But, I've worked various jobs in this town. Anything that basically will keep me here. And, I've always found the resources to find jobs, to find work, to, get my bills paid. And, I don't plan on leaving Aspen anytime soon.
Yeah. So that was a pretty satisfying path for you then.
Yeah, yeah.
Leaving school and
most
starting
certainly,
this. What do you find rewarding about it?
I wish that I had entered that path earlier with a little bit more financial planning. My wife and I now are just getting our feet under us, starting to save money, starting to really look towards the future. And I wish that I had that view going into my early 20s, save. Because, college is no longer a path that you necessarily need to travel on to make a career in this country. And especially in Aspen, there's so many outlets to have an affordable job. I know a number of people who have been waiters for 20 years, and they're making an exceptional living, waiting tables.
Yeah.
So we definitely have, that strong economy here, and you can get a decent paying job, and there's work to be had. If you're willing to work, you can make the money to live in Aspen.
So now you want to be the mayor.
Now I'd love to be the mayor.
What makes you qualified to be the mayor?
I am very charismatic, very personable, and I think that those are two traits that any political officer needs to have. They need to be well-spoken. They need to be open-minded, be able to communicate with fellow government employees. Also, a need to communicate with the public. And I really feel like growing up in Aspen, coming from a middle-income family, have a very good perspective on the Aspen life and the Aspen ideals. And I would love to be the representative for the town of Aspen, and bring to light some of those middle income working class issues that we need to start facing now in this town, or we're not going to have a town like this in a matter of decades.
So it's the growing up and being here,
This
being
is
able to
greatest place
understand.
in the world.
Yeah. Have you served as an elected official before?
I have not, and
Or been on
my
boards?
government experience is very little. Kind of one of the inspirations was seeing a very unqualified candidate be elected to, the leader of the free world. And that kind of inspired me to go, we the people. And if we the people don't get out and let our voices be heard, then democracy is a failing system.
Yeah.
And, you look at how many people turn out for the, democratic process of voting, and it's very upsetting to see, such an amazing system to be present. I just came back from a trip down to Mexico, and everyone there is such hard-working individuals, so kind, so compassionate. But you see a government that has a lot of corruption and has had a lot of corruption for many decades, and that's holding those people back. So to see the level of involvement or the lack of involvement within this country, it made me want to get out there and get my opinions voiced. And one of the greatest ways and greatest changes that you can make is locally. On a national level, things, just like a local level, things move slow in government. But, the immediate support and efforts you can get from the community on a local level is much more readily available than that on a national level.
Right. Well, it's true. Everything ends up being a local issue.
It really does,
in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very admirable approach. But is there anything in particular that got you up off the couch and said, "Yeah, I'm gonna run"?
Just the challenge. I love to make myself uncomfortable. I love to put myself in experiences where I need to learn. I most certainly have a lack of government understanding, and especially, local understanding. I, pick up the newspaper, read about the daily issues. But, as far as the other candidates, they have a much better understanding of the local dynamic. But that's something that I most certainly want to learn about, and, have the ambitions to learn about it. So that's one of the characteristics of myself that I feel would be very good. I'm a very determined individual. I set goals and I get them done. And this is one more goal that even if I don't become mayor of this town, it's been an incredible learning experience, and maybe just my involvement is going to get the younger crowd out and going, wow, this kid is putting himself out on the line and putting himself in an uncomfortable position. The least I can do is go register and vote, even if it's not showing the support for him,
Yeah, and I appreciate the willingness of anybody to run for public office, and it is uncomfortable, but sort of you mentioned you like to put yourself in the situations of being uncomfortable. What makes you uncomfortable about that, besides you're sitting here under bright lights talking to a total stranger? But
well, there's many mixed opinions about how Aspen should be run, and I've got most certainly a lot of opinions about the future I would like to see in Aspen coming to light. And those disagree with many, many people in this town. Many developers would hear, just how I feel about growth, and they're probably not too stoked about it. I do feel that, there is sorry, I just kind of ran into an end.
So have you been familiar with being in public meetings or managing public meetings or
Yeah, I mean,
all of
I've
that?
stopped in on a few council meetings. Definitely, trying to get caught up in the local issues, reviewing the
Yeah.
television of the council chamber meetings, um, and that is one of the questions that I get asked. Like, why do you want to get involved in local politics?
Right.
And just kind of seeing, sitting in on a few of the town council meetings. I do feel that there is a little bit of a communication divide, and I think that we could have a much better flowing town council if there was a little bit more cooperation. And I definitely see that there's some opinions that really get at battle when it comes to making decisions. And I think that, in the town of Aspen, we've only got a few issues. And for the most part, our town runs seamlessly, and we've got a great economy. So there's, a few heads, at odds because of those local issues, regarding development, regarding public housing, transportation, the three kind of big issues that we have. And I'd like to see a little bit more cooperation amongst town council to set, some initiatives to get these projects done effectively, and not be 10 to 15 years until we see our next employee housing unit go up. And it's like we're in a city with so much development going on, and we have so much resources to provide that development. And also, with the idea of sustainability, we're a very forward-thinking town. So I would love to see, some very affordable housing units put in, and kind of look towards the innovative ideas of the 21st century to bring about those developments. And something that a large-scale apartment complex, possibly looking at the rezoning of a few codes to make that large-scale apartment complex, but not build something that's an eyesore for Aspen, something that really incorporates those ideals of our town, and get the community behind it, instead of this kind of resentment that we have towards development. And you're not going to change Aspen. Aspen's not going to stop developing. Aspen's not going to stop attracting tourism, attracting people on vacation. It's not going to change that image that we have, gathered over the past 3 decades. Aspen is always going to be Aspen, but, there's certain parts of Aspen that we could, through community involvement, really shape to be, the guiding light of the 21st century. The small community, look what they're doing. They're providing housing for their workers. They're, opening up a 40,000 square foot greenhouse that's producing local food, not 2 hours away in Paonia. It's producing local food year round. And, we have so many options that we can, provide to our community through the local government because of the amount of money that we see going into that local government.
So you feel like there are resources around
Oh, most certainly.
that could be employed to create a more self-sufficient Aspen? Is that
Yeah, that's
fair
exactly
to
what
say?
I would love to see. We are all pretty aware of the current issues in the world, and one of those is large scale production of food. And if we don't get away from that, and we are getting away from that, and there's a huge local farm to table outreach here. And I feel like we have so much land. If you look at the history of this valley, this was a very economic booming area. There was agriculture, there was mining, there was many economies existing. And to turn our back, oh, we're a ski town, that's all we do now, I think that that's very ignorant of us. And I think that we could expand upon a lot of our resources, and bring about, yes, a little bit more of a prosperous community that is centralized. We're not needing to depend on our Kroger trucks to bring us our food every single night. Then that would be an amazing thing to see our valley expand upon the sustainable nature of a community.
Yeah.
And we have these ideas, this voice of sustainability and being green and eco-friendly. So I think that there's many more things that we could initiate through local government to address those and expand upon those kind of qualities that we've taken as our own in this town.
Yeah. Well, you work really hard. You have these ideas. What kind of do you do at this point to relax or get out there? Or
I
what
haven't
do you
had-
do when you take time off?
Yeah, I haven't had much relaxation recently. I started the overnight job at City Market mid-November, so I was crunching 3 overnight days a week and on top of 40 hours at the Little Nell. And I was running every chance I got. I'm a huge runner. That's my outdoor passion. It's kind of taken the place of snowboarding, skiing, kayaking. It's now running, and that's all I think about. But yeah, just due to the stress I've had on my shoulders, kind of haven't been running for the past few weeks, and definitely jonesing to get that back into my life. But
and you're married, but do you have kids?
No, we don't have kids. Definitely looking towards the future. Bringing a child into this world, but just kind of getting finances straightened out and making sure that we're ready for it. I would much rather bust my ass now and save up some money than when I bring a child into this world having to do it then and not have time to spend with the child. So I've been working really hard kind of with that goal in mind, and now kind of picking up new goals along the way as well.
Well, what are some of your favorite things about the community that make you stay here and want to dig in?
I think that one of the underlying premises of a community is the like-minded characteristics that community shares. And one of the biggest characteristics that we share is our pursuit for the outdoors. Mm-hmm. And I would say that, every single town in this valley, 50% or more of the people who are living in those towns, that is their pursuit, to go out and enjoy nature. And that's one of the reasons why we have this sustainability, kind of premise on everything, because we want to see the snow keep coming in Aspen. We want to keep seeing these gorgeous summers, and I think that's, throughout the valley, that's one of our binding ties, is that we, all the towns share this ambition to create paradise and keep living in paradise. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I have stayed here so long, is because of that communal sense of, really, really looking towards the future of being able to get out and enjoy nature. And I would say that Colorado, has that on a whole. There's, you go to Denver, and even though you're in a metropolis, all those people are coming up to the mountains on the weekend. They're going out and enjoying nature.
Yeah, that's true. But do you feel like that's changing since you came here? Or?
I would say yes, there is a change in kind of the youth and their involvement in winter sports. When I was growing up, me and John were kind of talking about AVSE and how that's an all-encompassing valley-wide program.
Yeah.
And that it still is an all-encompassing valley-wide program, but I mean, to think back when I went to high school and to know that, across the board there was a, skiing, snowboarding community throughout the valley. I knew kids in Glenwood, who ski and snowboard and see them up on the mountains every single weekend. And I think that there is a, kind of dying resurgence of the winter sports within, the younger generations in this town. Mm-hmm. And, that might be due to just the, over availability to go out and enjoy winter sports, and just people not really caring about it anymore. But for a ski town, that's something that we definitely need to hold on to and need to push that on our children.
So if you become mayor, what do you add to the mix?
I mean, openness, kindness, communication. That's one of the premises on which I'm, running on. I am going to try to be as fair as possible to all opinions, all ideas. I'm not going to, judge them, with a bias. I'm going to remain open-minded. And I think that, again, that's something that all politicians should have. We might have our own political pursuits, political desires, but, one of the most cherished, characteristics of someone in office is, the communication, the openness, and the ability to hear different opinions and kind of sift through them and represent, the public the way that they want you to represent them.
Right. Well, and then if you were to think about, let's say you get elected and you become the mayor, and now it's a couple years into your term, or you're running again for your second term. What are you going to sit back and be proud of? What would be what you'd focus on?
I mentioned, about the community greenhouse. I think that we could greatly expand upon the community garden that we have out at Mayoral, and that would, again, be adding to the appeal of Aspen. Look what Aspen's doing. Their government, is building a giant greenhouse to provide for their community to, maybe you're buying monthly land plots to go and have your, experiment at gardening underway, or maybe there's some restaurants and some commercial business going on there. So I mean, that's something that I most certainly think that we need to expand upon. We need to be able to provide for our community, and that's not just on a Aspen level. That's on a global level. We need to get away from this factory farming. The produce coming in from your cargo trucks. We need to get back to how we were 200 years ago, where we had these communities that were self-sufficient, that every single trait that you needed, you could find within that community. And I feel like Aspen is a very good place to begin that, to kind of, voice that transition of, we need to get away from this corporation control, and we need to get back to communities running and, being the providers for the town, the city.
Let's unpack that for a bit. Because let's say there's a plot of land out at Mayoral that's a community garden, and then people take their plots and they grow their food a little bit. But this notion of, can we have more locally sourced food, which is an admirable notion, I think. Is that a government activity, or would you say, let's put together some capital and find some land and find a way to efficiently produce enough local greens to be able to provide restaurants and be more self-sufficient? That you're putting your energy into, I want to be mayor, and that's a choice. And another way to go is, I want to develop this project. Mm-hmm. I'm curious why you picked mayor.
Really just to be the new representative face for Aspen. Yeah. I feel like there definitely is a sense of personality missing from Aspen. We've got this giant international appeal, and I would love to be the new representative face of Aspen. That is open-minded, funny. Right. People enjoy speaking to, and that's who I feel I am as a person.
So it's kind of the appeal of that process. Of I can fit in here and contribute here, as opposed to necessarily I want to be an entrepreneur and put a business together.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not looking to gain any money, expand my market whatsoever, my network whatsoever. Yeah. I'm in here to input my opinions, my ideas into the political process. I really have not been spending any money. You're not going to see vote for Cale stickers, vote for Cale, totes going around town. And I feel that that's one of the things about the political process that has now been greatly tainted. There's this element of finances that is needed. And again, I am going to try to spend as little finances as I can on this, because I don't feel that is a necessity to government. And I mean, that's one of so the two questions I get asked is, why are you running for public office? And then the second one is, where are you getting your money? Mm-hmm. And that is very unsettling to me. That is the notion of, you know, a politician now is who's sponsoring this person, where are you getting your money, what is the backing behind you, and I want to get away from that. You know, that's why I'm throwing my hat in the ring, is because I don't have any, you know, political backings. I don't have any sponsors. I'm not trying to make money to, you know, put my name out there. I would like to feel that my characteristics, my openness, who I am, my time in this area, that those are the, you know, guiding principles for which people are going to vote for me, not because I have spent, you know, $2,000 on totes and T-shirts and
Right.
stickers. I would like my message to be the reason why people get behind me and support me, and that message is, you know, an openness, fairness, and, you know, longevity of the future of Aspen. And you know, I don't think that there's a whole lot more that needs to be detailed in a campaign than your ideals. So yeah, I mean, I definitely am not trying to become an entrepreneur of any sort, trying to push any networking or marketing. I just am putting myself out there and, you know, letting the people vote upon the opinions they'd like to see come into office.
Okay. We're out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
It's
Reid.
been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit, and we appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here.
And thank you for joining us for this concludes another edition of Probeline. We hope it's been helpful, and thanks for tuning in.